I'd like to invite Isha, Reverend Sarah, and Nkatha, and Kimberly. So my name is Njeri Mwangi. I'm the one who did the story. It was a documentary. You can find it on Instagram, on YouTube. It's called Baby Stealers. Okay? You can watch it later. It's much longer than you see here. This was just a short clip. I'm going to ask my panelists to invite themselves. I'll start from Isha. Tell us your name and what you do.
I'm Isha. I am the founder of Isha Global, and I am trying to help human trafficking victims work through their trauma from human trafficking.
Thank you, Isha. My name is Sarah Kamau, and a pastor with Christ is the Answer Ministries Nakuru, and I'm glad to be involved in this debate.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kimberly Nduta. I'm a student. I'm supposed to be in Form 4 right now.
Thank you. The reason we are here because we want to acknowledge anti-trafficking. Trafficking and kidnapping of children and adults, men and women, si kitu mpya, si ndio? It's things we know about, but there is a level to normalize vitu zingine. They're not such a big deal. And for many reasons, maybe tumezoea, hatujui ni mbaya, juu tumezoea kuiona, or maybe because we feel helpless, there's nothing we can do. And in the normalizing it, some places we don't do anything about it, even when we are fully aware that this is wrong. Now, I want to ask Isha, what are the misconceptions about human trafficking? It's both, when I talk of human trafficking, I mean of adults and children. What misconceptions are out there?
A lot of people think that human trafficking is just for labor, where people are taken to work on farms or in factories. But there's many different types of human trafficking. There's sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and a lot of time children trafficking. And a lot of people only think it happens to boys, but it happens to both boys and girls.
Okay. What then? How do you define trafficking?
Trafficking is is when you take a person and use them for your own gain and benefit, and basically take all of their human rights and make them do work for you, produce goods and services.
You said there are different types of trafficking. Can you name them so that I want these children to leave this room very aware. So when you speak, let the children understand you. So what types of trafficking are there?
So there's labor trafficking, where people are taken to work in factories or farms or for other people to do different services. And then there's sex trafficking, where people are repeatedly used for pornography or individual sex services.
Okay. People have defined what trafficking is and dismiss what it is not. Maybe to this panel, to Susan and to Kimberly, if you have a response to this, what would you say you've seen around us that you could consider at a personal level to be trafficking? I mean, given what Isha has defined, has described, do you think you've seen trafficking around? Have you seen people that have been trafficked? Is there something that is going on in our community that we have allowed that by Isha's definition is considered trafficking?
Can I allow Kimberly to go in first, if you don't mind?
Okay. Yes, I have seen people being trafficked I do have a friend who has been trafficked from another country. But what I can say is, it's true. It's going on. Even right now, I bet there are kids who have been taken over the border. And I think we should stop it. We should just stop it. Just hear out their cry, yeah.
I think one of my response to that is that, yes, it's happening, but maybe we don't call it human trafficking. We may have many other names for it. For example, there has been very many cases of children being abducted. We look at it as crime. All you think is that, oh, either that parents are not taking good care of the children, and so they leave them to wander wrong. Or when you look at it, you feel like, where could that child has gone? But Larry, with the many issues that, occupies one's mind, rarely do we ask, why is it happening and why is it so frequent as the years goes by? So it's like we silence our conscience to think about it, so that you are not interrogating, or as a community we are not fully interrogating what is happening with an eye of looking for solution. I think the other one, especially when she talks about the trafficking, again, we may not call it that, but you will hear somebody saying, oh, somebody is getting me a house help, maybe from Uganda or from Tanzania or from wherever. We never really sit down and say, how did this person come to you? I mean, how did you get this house help from Uganda? How did you get, are the parents aware of it? Do they have your contact so that they know that you have their child? Do they know where you stay so that they can visit you and check how your child is doing? It may not be from Uganda, it may even be from up country. And all you know is that, and at least I know this is something we've been talking about, especially when one has employed another age kind of labor. And that can be across board. It could be to take care of sheep, it could be to take care of cows, and you see them on the road, walking with those animals, and you're thinking, this child is too young, they ought to be in school. But again, like I'm saying, hardly do we take time to interrogate why this child is doing what they are doing, and how did you get that child? And I think for me, what I'm getting from this is that there is need to intentionally create awareness right from the family level and above, in order for us to know what human trafficking is about. Allow me to confess that when Nkatha, the one who heads the Frolics of Hope, came to my office and told me about human trafficking in Nakuru, I asked her, how does that happen? Because in my mind, the human trafficking I knew is groups of people that you see have been, are coming from Ethiopia. They have been found in a certain building in Nairobi, locked up. They were being taken to South Africa or to other places. That's the kind of thing that comes to most of the people's mind when they think about human trafficking, but not in terms of the definitions that we are getting here today.
Thank you so much. You've said a lot of things, because I keep wondering, around us, how do we identify human trafficking? And you've brought it close home. You've said people from the rural area or vice versa, tending to sheep, I bring a maid. And for me, what equates it to trafficking is that this person that is in my home, do their parents know where they are? Do their relatives know where they are? Do they get permission to leave and go as they please, over the weekend or over some day in the week, for whatever reason? Or are they held in my house until the day I decide they can leave? And I've seen a lot of people who, unfortunately, keep their helps. I come from Nairobi, so their helps never go home. They're there to serve them 24/7. They wake up very early in the morning and go to bed very late. Yeah? Someone will go to bed at 2 and they're expected to make breakfast at 5. And it could be a big homestead, or not necessarily, maybe one child or two children. And this person works, and I call it slaves through the day for very little money, sometimes if at all. Yeah. So, Ish, I want to come back to you. How do we see human trafficking around us in our communities? Because in my experience, I love watching movies. The way I thought of human trafficking is what I've seen in movies. People in containers being shipped from one place to another, their passports taken away, and their communication is cut. If they have any phones or anything, there's a lot of beating that goes on. They're not allowed to move, they're locked up, and then they're sent to wherever. And if they die, they're thrown to sea. I mean, that's my mind. In my mind, that's what I think, or I thought human trafficking was, and that's all that it was. I never thought it to be, I never brought it home to what Susan is saying. And so, Sarah, I never brought it home to that level. So when we think of where we live, I believe we've all seen human trafficking in one way or form or shape or another. Yeah? How would you break it down for us to acknowledge maybe that we've seen trafficking? And like Sarah said, maybe that's not what we call it. It's such a big word. Hey, trafficking. It's a big word. So no, it's not happening. But it is happening, but we don't call it. So maybe how would you speak to that?
So human trafficking is essentially like modern day slavery. So you can see it when, like one version of it is when people are working and they get paid very, very little, like barely anything. And they don't have access to clean water or electricity. So people who work in sweatshops, that's a form of human trafficking. So like big factories that force people to work nonstop for hours on end, like you said, and then get paid very, very, very little is a form of human trafficking. Also another form is when children are forced to, people take children and force them to work in their homes for no cost at all. So those are both forms of human trafficking.
Do you think family members can be traffickers? Could I traffic
yes.
a cousin, relative?
For sure. So one form of it is, sexual exploitation. So a family member can, rape another family member, and that is human trafficking as well.
Who would you say are the most vulnerable victims of human trafficking?
Low-income people, people in poverty, a lot of people who live in countries where, women aren't treated as well as men, and with corrupted governments. Those are all people who are the most vulnerable to human trafficking.
Earlier on you said that human trafficking is on the rise. Why do you think this is so?
I think because it's an easy way for people to make money. It's become more known as well. Before it wasn't as common for people to do, human trafficking, but now it's becoming a more known topic, so more people are getting into it. And since it's such an easy way to make money, people just want to do it, so you don't have to do as much work for it.
What do you think maybe governments need to do, so there is that, what you've talked about. What is the role of government or our authorities in curbing or reducing or even bringing an end to it?
So I think helping creating systems where people can easily escape poverty, and where people can, the government is very corrupt where human trafficking takes place most of the time. So the government should help these people by providing better health care, better job opportunities, so that people have a better flow of income, so that they can have a better lifestyle, so they're not in the place where they can be human trafficked.
Kimberly. Kimberly is a victim of human trafficking. And who can tell better your story than yourself, right? So I want Kimberly to tell us whatever she's comfortable with, because we think we don't know anybody that has been trafficked. But here is somebody who's been through it and has lived to tell it. There are those who've lived to tell it also. But Kimberly has her own story that is heart-wrenching, and she will share what she can, okay? And I want us to learn how these things are happening around us, and we walk right past them, okay? So Kimberly will talk to us whatever she's able to talk.
Hi. As you have heard, I'm Kimberly. When I was 11 years old, my stepdad raped me. And I told my mom. He was arrested. But 3 years later, he got out. And he stayed like for a year. Then they got back with mom. And we started to live together again. So after like 6 months, I think so, 6 months, he started doing it again and threatening me. Until last year, in September, my mom found out. And after she kicked him out of the house, later on we got to find out that I was pregnant. I was pregnant. Then earlier this year, in April, I remember vividly, it was April 7th, I was at my mom's workplace. Then she was called home by my grandmother to come. There was a pastor. My church is a Mokorino. So there was this pastor who came, who said that God sent him to speak to my mom. So my mom went to Njoro, and me and my little sister were left at the workplace. So in the evening, she came with the so-called pastor. He started like, what will I call it? Yani kunifanya ni feel guilty that I'm carrying my stepdad's child. I was pained, and then he said that my mom sent him to go to a supermarket to buy anointing to give me, then I go back, and then he will go. But he told my mom, in different occasions, he told my mom that now we are going to the supermarket. But he told me that my mom had said that we go to his church so that he can pray for me, so that it won't be a curse on me. It was around 7 in the evening, so we went. We boarded a matatu to go to Ngata. On reaching Ngata, it was around 7:30. We walked, and then I started asking him, kwani hatufiki? Aren't we reaching the church? There he started to beat me. He removed his kilemba. He started smoking. And then we were going Salga, uko juu kwa wakale, uko juu. And then he raped me 4 times. And he started inserting sticks in me, trying to remove the pregnancy. So around that 1 saa 7 usiku, he left me in an abandoned church, an unfinished one. He said that he was going to get water. I don't know water was for what, or I don't know. There I sneaked away. I hid, waited till morning. Then I walked through the highway, and there I got a good Samaritan who helped me to reach town. And there I went to my mom's workplace. And my mom had opened the shop, so I went to the neighbor. And she called my mom, and there I found out that my mom was in police station. She had alikuwa ameenda kushtaki kuwa nimepotea. So we went to the police station and I was sent to the hospital. I went to the hospital and they checked me. The following day we went back to the police station, and there was this police who said that I had ran away to go have fun, that I was lying. And because he had gone with the phone, the other police who had my case now, we told him to track the phone because the phone wasn't off. He said he would track it. The following day we came, he said that the phone is in town at my mom's workplace. We asked how, but we later came to find out that he didn't track it. So when Friday came, he said that he was going home. His family lives in Mombasa. So he said that he won't do anything until he comes back because he was going to meet his family. Since then, we've never heard from him. And till this day, my dad's still roaming. The other guy who raped me is still roaming free. Nothing's been done. We've tried to ask what's going on. There's nothing. In short, nothing's been done.
Thank you for sharing your story. Trafficking is all around us. Sorry. In our families, neighbors next door, and we know these things. Are we those parents that when your child tells you something, you will not believe them first? I have 3 children. I have always said, mtoto wangu akiniambia kitu nitamwamini kwanza. I will believe my child first. Kesi baadaye. If they lie to me, I will whoop them baadaye. Because they could also lie, sindio? But my child, I will believe whatever they say, and they know that. So in terms of protecting our children from perpetrators, people even known to us, fathers, uncles, the people at the farm, and this is a story of one girl. Boys also, it happens to them. Sindio? It happens to boys as well. Isha, how can we keep ourselves, our children, safe from traffickers?
I think we have to educate and we have to spread awareness about human trafficking because many people don't know that it exists. People don't even know that slavery is still happening. If we spread awareness and we educate and we have our government help people get out of poverty, I think that we have a chance of getting rid of human trafficking.
Sarah, I'm angry at the church right now. But that was not a man of God, for sure. But religion has been good and bad. Yeah? Because when somebody would say that this is a curse, it's not something she brought on herself, it's something that happened to her. How is the church, or how, let me ask first, how is the church assisting not just victims of human trafficking, but just people that come with cries and complaints of issues that could be human trafficking, forced labor, slavery, and mostly it's family. So how would you say the church is handling something like that?
Allow me to begin by saying, first of all, I want to say sorry to Kimberly for the experiences and pray that she will be able to get counseling that will help her to go through healing in this. And then say, when we answer the question about the church, there must be a different ways in which we address that word church. One, because different denominations handle things differently. Secondly, because the church is made up of individuals living in a community or in society. And we usually say the church is a voice within that community in which you are living in. Sometimes the expression of the church, if I may take, for example, from where I'm coming from CITAM, I know one of the ways in which we have tried to help. We are not doing everything that we can, and maybe we are doing the most that we can for now. One of the things we do this is children who come to us, particularly when it comes to children, and we feel that they need assistance, particularly when it comes to withdrawing them from the hostile environment, and we take them to our children home. We call it Kiserian Children Home, where they are getting education and they are protected as they grow and growing in different other areas. We also have a number of children whom we are assisting within their own families. They stay with their families because we feel that the reason why they would want to have been away, because when we are talking about trafficking, I'm also thinking, is there personal trafficking? Is there a way one lands away from their home and the security of their family, and they are willing to sell themselves out there to the minimum that they can get? Because those are some of the cases that we help in when we realize that it's because this person had reached a level of hopelessness in going to school and everything, but it's not that their home is completely unsafe for them to stay. And so we have a program in which we offer education to such. There is also a place where in, that one we do in what we call CITAM Global, but there is also a place in which if someone comes to us, one of the things we do is to assist with home. I know 2 members of our church right now who are learning children's homes, and who whenever we have food, because we have what we call Mercy Basket, a system in which we encourage people, if you have harvested extra, when you go to shop and you shop extra and you bring food to us, we are able to take that food and provide for those particular members of the church who are learning the children home. Maybe because there's an organization, we may not be able to establish many other homes, but we do know, like I have said, that there is what I see, personal gifting in certain people who feel this is the direction they would like to serve the community, and they start those children home. And as the church where we come in is to help in counseling, is to help support where we can, for example, in food and such, and in any other way that we can. But I will not say that that is happening in every other church. And that's why I said I don't want to speak general and say the church is doing this, because it's different structures for different organizations. However, allow me also to say that sometimes one of the reasons, for example, why people will be deceived, because I'll call it a deception, is when somebody comes and says they are men or women of God, but because you don't interrogate them to know what exactly they are talking about, you take their word as gospel truth. In this country, we have very many people who are masquerading as men and women of God. They have no training even for sharing, for preaching the word. They have no particular place from where they are operating, but they also know that there are people who are growable and easy to be deceived for them to make wealth. And that has given a bad name across board, because that's what we like to shout. For example, somebody like that who will go and rape a lady and they came with their turban saying they are men of God. Did the mother take time to interrogate? When this man says God has shown them, whom does she talk to know whether this voice is from God or not? And you hand over your child to a hyena, and then we come back and say the churches. I think we also have to say that there is personal responsibility where people assume they are Christians, but really they are not even practicing the word of God, and that we need to wisen up because growability can happen with anyone and from anywhere.
Thank you. I think that gives some sense of perspective about personal responsibility. What I was saying about we being those parents, we being those neighbors, we being those uncles and aunties who are not doing anything about a violation that is blatant in our eyes. A lot of times we sit in forums like this and discuss many things, different topics about different things that affect people we work with, but we don't ask the people that we work with what their opinion is. So again, I'll come back to you, Kimberly.
Before you go back to Kimberly, let me say something, if you don't mind. I'm thinking of the aspects of cultural aspects that influences human trafficking, because it can be from the description of what we are talking about here. In my mind, I can see a lot of cultural aspect. For example, where maybe children are orphaned by both of their parents and they are left in the care of the relatives, and these relatives feel the best way to help these children is to look for somebody somewhere to employ them, and that is very frequent, and it is never looked at as child trafficking. It looks at like removing them from home to go and earn a living, but there is never any follow-up. And that's, I think, one of the most common within our culture here, where we just, the child will come out from study 6, from study 7, and the parents or the grandparents know, and they will give them out. Also because of poverty. What I see in most cases, and those are the things then we try to say as a society and as a church. How can we help one another? I know we have a program, for example, which we call Support a Student. We have programs in which we help widows so that we can work together to help them in raising those children, because the dynamics are very, very many, and the needs are coming from all quarter, but the cultural aspect. And I felt of talking about this cultural aspect because of your clip. Your clip talked about when a woman cannot bear a son, or when a woman cannot bear children, and there is great pressure from the family and the in-laws that you must give us a child. I know that happens in different other cultures. And the reason why I picked up on the cultural one is because in the church, one of the things we try to do is to, as we are teaching about, giving, that children are a gift from God. One of the things we tell parents is, it's very possible that you may not have your biological children, but there are processes in which you can foster children, and there are laws in this country that you can follow in order to foster a child, and you can raise that child as your child. Or you can adopt a child, and there are rules that, again, in this country you can follow to adopt a child and make them their very own. But if that discussion is not happening at the family level, we are not mitigating it. I picked up something from the song that was sung by the Mathare dancers, the Mwomboko one, and there is one in which they say, a statement that said, I cannot compare my bride with my mother. I don't know how it was said. Siwezi linganisha. Actually, it's I can't compare my bride with my mother. In other words, the mother holds a stronger voice in the home of this man than the wife. If therefore the mother is pushing this man that you must give me a grandchild, all whatever nature you must give me children. I can tell you that home will be run by the voice of the mother and not the voice of the wife and the husband. And because it's a cultural norm, when it is captured in a song, it is very acceptable. And we can even think that the song is actually good because it's speaking to our culture. But that is where it all begins, by the way. Within those cultural norms where you will do anything in order to appease your mother just because your wife has not been able to conceive a child, and so the cycle begins. I'm saying we must interrogate, including our culture and the way it builds into what we are discussing here right now.
Thank you. Do you have anything to say, Isha? No. There is the issue of culture, there is religion, there is poverty. So a lot of things play into what we're discussing, yeah? Why people will get into trafficking, why people will volunteer in a way to be trafficked because it's better than the situation they're coming from. It's from worse to bad, and that's acceptable to some people. I believe every child should be in school. Every single child should be in school. And I wish a representative of government was here, but the government must try and make sure that every child is in school, because then when they're in school, they're not available to be used and to be distracted and to be put into places where we shouldn't be seeing them in the first place. But because that has not been something that has been enforced, we don't question when we see children. They're all over the place. But they should be in school. They should only not be in school when they're on holiday. But that's not the case. And I wanted to ask Kimberly, I said, we talk about how we can help, what we can do, but we never ask victims, people who've been through these things, what they wish could have happened and what was lacking, or what have you found lacking. So let me ask you, Kimberly, what do you wish was available to you? Or what do you wish can be available now to help you live your life better after all the ordeals that you've been through?
I wish that the police would have believed me. They would have taken action, because the two guys would have been behind bars, and I will be able to go back with my baby at home. Because even if we go at home, we are at risk because they may come after us or after the baby because she's an evidence. I just want to be heard. I just want the police to take action, because maybe the police have been bribed by the guys. I don't know, but I just want justice. I do want to go back to school, but the school where I was, rumors have spread that I'm like a prostitute because I'm having a baby at this age. It spread. We went to explain ourselves to the principal, but she said that I could go back to school next year on January, so that I shouldn't do the KCSE right now because of the baby, because I gave birth to her prematurely. I gave birth to her at 7 months. Now they spread rumors that I was sleeping around with men. That's why I got pregnant, that I'm a bad girl. Now the whole school identify me as a prostitute, but they don't know the real story, but the principal does. I just want to go back to school. I don't want the rumors. I don't want the hate. I just want things to go back to normal, because when I feel hated, I feel like the baby isn't a blessing to me. I feel that she's a curse, because me having her has ruined my life. My dreams have been shattered. I want to become a nurse. But with all the things going on, I don't see it.
You can be anything you want to be. We live in a very broken society, right, people? Very broken. And it may seem like your dreams have been dashed. But you're still so young, so young. And everything you dream for, that and more is what I wish for you. Because it's possible. So don't give up. Don't give up. Whatever happens, however it happens, whenever it happens, don't give up. Okay? That's just what I would want you to take away from this meeting. And for us all, we have a responsibility to one another, to our families, and to our community that we cannot escape, because we are also potential victims. If we don't think of another person, you need to look at the mirror and see that person in the mirror. That's you. We're victims, potential victims. Nobody sees this coming. So we don't think that any of these things could happen to us, because we are well kept. You know, whatever stories, whatever things we may have told ourselves. Let's remember we live in a very broken society, a broken country, a broken world, right? And we each have a responsibility. So know what that responsibility is and take it up. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It doesn't have to be a big thing. It's the small things we do, put together, that will roll this world up on its belly. Or is it back on its feet? I don't know. I don't know whether we are on our backs, or I don't know whether we're on our feet, moving in the wrong direction. Yeah? But it's all of us doing the small things that we ought to be doing, that we can move back to humanity. A world where Kimberly can realize her dreams. So my call to us today is to take up our responsibilities. Hold our government to account, hold our authorities to account. Those two men should not be on the streets. And because they are, every woman here, you're at risk. I am at risk. And what am I going to do about that? Knowing that there are two prowlers that she knows very well. They're out there. So I don't know if I live here. I don't know if they'll find me in Nairobi. They're somewhere out there. So every woman, this is very personal. It's not Kimberly's problem. It's very personal for each one of us. Maybe I'll ask for just closing remarks from Isha, then from Sarah. And if you have any remarks, Kimberly, to close, you can also give. Then we can release people to go for lunch.
Yeah, exactly. We need to help spread awareness about this cause, because millions of people around the world are being human trafficked, and there's nothing being done about it because the government is corrupt in those countries and is not helping them to find the traffickers, and something needs to be done. Whether it's spreading awareness or donating money to organizations, you can help, and you have a voice to do so.
Thank you, Njiri. To my mind comes two things. One is that we need to amplify this voice beyond here. And I keep thinking, are we going to do this in a church service, or do we need to organize like a conference, maybe with a part of the people here, and make this our discussion so that it is much louder out there for people to understand how you can become a trafficker without intentionally intending to be. Because you strengthen the network when you do things even when you don't know that that's exactly what you're doing. But secondly, that we, besides amplifying the advocacy on this, that there are resources needed for us to say, how do we mobilize the little resources we have to give support where that is needed? Because it takes much to say, for example, Kimberly will go to school and her child will also grow. We are saying that that child needs to be taken care of by somebody as she goes through her education. We are saying that there is a lot of networking that is needed to bring about the psychosocial support that is needed in order to make that happen. Yeah, so I feel like it needs something bigger. I feel something bigger, like the people who are seeking for positions of MCA, positions of MPs and senators, our judiciary. I feel like we have a number of key stakeholders who needs to be in a gathering like this. And maybe we need to take this discussion further. But in it all, we need the healing that comes from God. Because at the end of it all, unless he heals our souls and our minds and our spirit, with all the education, with all the other things, we may never experience wholeness. It is for somebody like a Kimberly to know, irrespective of the pain she has gone through, that God can bring a beauty out of her ashes. And my prayer is that her cry for revenge, it's a cry for justice, would be answered, but also that she would find personal healing and personal forgiveness in order to be able to move forward.
I just want to say that people should become aware that a lot of things are happening. I know I'm not the only one. People are out there. They aren't speaking out, but I urge you to speak out and share that. I know that not all people can be trusted, because somebody who hurt me the most was close to me. My stepdad. He was close to me. We lived together in the same house. I just want you to become aware and know who you trust.
I have nothing else to add. I think I have said my piece. And I want to just appreciate my panel here. Isha, thank you. Sarah and Kimberly. And also thank you for staying put way past your lunchtime. I want to also believe that we are not living here the same way we came. We are challenged, we are educated more than we know, we are more informed, and we have work to do. Every one of us. Every one of us has work to do. So thank you for your time and enjoy your lunch. I'll give it back to the MC and we'll see you later.